Act 1. The first loop. Mark had been driving for 4 hours when he saw the hitchhiker. 2:47 a.m., middle of nowhere. Highway 89 cutting through flatland so empty it felt like the edge of the world. No other cars, no towns, just road and darkness and the hum of tires on the asphalt. The hitchhiker stood on the shoulder, thumb out, facing the road. Mark's headlights caught him for 3 seconds. Tall, dark jacket, duffel bag at his feet, face in shadow. Then Mark was past him. Rear-view mirror showed nothing but red taillights fading into black. Mark didn't stop. You don't stop for hitchhikers at 3 a.m. on empty highways. Everyone knew that. He checked his fuel gauge. Half tank. He'd filled up in Springdale 6 hours ago. The next town, Millbrook, was still 3 hours out. He'd checked the route a dozen times before leaving. 12 hours total. Springdale to Millbrook, straight shot. He'd left at 9 p.m. Wanted to drive through the night. Fewer cars, fewer distractions, fewer chances to change his mind. Because if he thought too hard about what he was doing, driving away from 8 years of his life, from a house that wasn't his anymore, from a marriage that had ended 3 months ago in a lawyer's office, he'd turn around. So he drove. And he didn't think. Just watched the white line on the shoulder and listened to the engine and let the miles pass. Mile marker 42 appeared in his headlights. Green sign, white numbers, reflective paint catching the beams. Mile 42. Mark glanced at his trip odometer. 287 miles since Springdale. That tracked. He was making good time. The road stretched ahead. Flat, straight, empty. He passed a billboard. Faded white background. Red letters. Rest stop. Next exit 5 miles. Mark considered it. He could use coffee. His eyes were starting to burn. That scratchy feeling you get after too many hours staring at nothing. But 5 miles meant another 7, 8 minutes. And if the rest stop was one of those sad highway stops with flickering lights and a vending machine that didn't work, it wasn't worth it. He'd push through. 3 more hours. He could do 3 more hours. The mile markers kept coming. 43, 44, 45. Something dark on the shoulder. Mark's headlights caught it for a second. Roadkill. Deer, looked like. Medium-sized buck. He'd seen 3 or 4 already tonight. That happened on empty highways. Animals crossed at night. Didn't always make it. He kept driving. Mark turned on the radio. Static. He twisted the dial. More static. A burst of talk radio, something about weather patterns, then static again. He turned it off. The silence was better. Just the engine. Just the road. His phone sat in the cup holder. Screen dark. No service out here. Hadn't had service for the last 2 hours. He thought about the last text he'd sent before leaving Springdale. To his brother. On the road. See you tomorrow. His brother had replied. Drive safe. Call when you get there. Mark hadn't called. Hadn't checked his phone since the signal died. Didn't matter. He'd call from Millbrook. Explain everything then. Or maybe he wouldn't explain. Maybe he'd just show up and his brother would see it in his face. The exhaustion, the defeat, the fact that Mark had finally given up trying to hold together something that had been broken for years. Mile marker 51. Mark blinked. His eyelids were heavy. He rolled down the window. Cold air rushed in. November in the plains. The kind of cold that wakes you up. Better. He checked his mirrors. Nothing behind him. Nothing ahead. Just road. The billboard appeared again. Same faded white. Same red letters. Rest stop. Next exit 5 miles. Mark frowned. He'd passed that billboard 10 minutes ago. At mile 42. Now he was at mile 51. But the billboard said the same thing. Next exit 5 miles. Mark did the math. If the first billboard was at mile 42 and the exit was 5 miles away, The exit should be at mile 47. He was past mile 47. So why was there another billboard? Same rest stop. Maybe there were two exits. Maybe the rest stop had north and south entrances. That happened sometimes on long highways. Mark kept driving. Mile marker 56. His fuel gauge hadn't moved. Still half tank. He glanced at the clock on the dashboard. 2:47 a.m. Wait. He looked again. 2:47 a.m. That wasn't right. He'd seen the hitchhiker at 2:47. That was, 15 minutes ago? 20. The clock should say 3:05, maybe 3:10, but it still said 2:47. Mark tapped the dashboard. Sometimes the display glitched. Old car. 2003 Camry with 180,000 miles. The clock had frozen before. He looked at his phone. Screen still dark. He pressed the power button. No service. But the time showed in the corner. 2:47 a.m. Mark's hands tightened on the wheel. Okay, so his phone clock was wrong too. Or the cell tower out here was broadcasting the wrong time. That happened in rural areas. Time zones got weird near state lines. He kept driving. Mile marker 61. The white line on the shoulder looked wider than before, or maybe it had always been that wide. He couldn't remember. He checked his rearview mirror. Nothing. Checked again. Still nothing. But something felt off. Like the darkness behind him was thicker. Like the road he'd already driven had disappeared. Mark shook his head. He was tired, that's all. Tired and seeing things that weren't there. He needed to stop, get coffee, splash water on his face. The billboard appeared. Rest stop. Next exit. 5 miles. Mark's chest tightened. Same billboard, same words, same faded white and red letters. He was at mile 61 now. The first billboard had been at mile 42. The second at mile 51. Now this one, mile 61. Same spacing, same sign, like something was repeating. That didn't make sense. Rest stops weren't spaced that close. And the sign kept saying, next exit 5 miles. But he'd driven 20 miles since the first one and hadn't seen an exit. Mark's foot eased off the gas. The car slowed. He should turn around, go back, find the exit he'd missed. But when he looked in the rearview mirror, the road behind him was gone. Just darkness, like the highway ended where his taillight stopped. Mark pressed the gas. The car sped up. Mile marker 67. His odometer still read 287 miles. Hadn't moved. The fuel gauge still showed half tank. The clock still said 2:47 a.m. Mark's breathing was shallow now, fast. Something was wrong. He didn't know what, but something was wrong. The road curved slightly. First curve he'd seen in an hour. Mark followed it. His headlights swept across flat land, empty fields, no buildings, no lights, and then the curve straightened. And there, in his headlights, was the hitchhiker. Same spot, same dark jacket, same duffel bag. Thumb out. Mark's foot hit the brake. The car jerked, slowed. The hitchhiker stood perfectly still, facing the road. Mark's heart hammered in his chest. He'd passed this guy 20 miles ago, at mile 42. Now he was at mile 67. How was the hitchhiker here? Mark rolled down the passenger window, leaned across the seat, shouted, "Hey, you need a ride?" The hitchhiker didn't move, didn't turn his head, just stood there, thumb out. Mark waited. Nothing. "Hey." Still nothing. Mark's hands were shaking. He put the car in park, left the engine running, opened his door. Cold air hit him, colder than before, the kind of cold that sinks into your bones. He stepped onto the asphalt. His shoes scraped against the road. The sound was too loud, too sharp. "Hey," Mark called again. "You okay?" The hitchhiker stood 20 feet away, not moving, not breathing, just standing. Mark took a step forward, another step, 10 feet away now. He could see the jacket, dark blue, worn, the duffel bag at the guy's feet, old canvas, but he couldn't see the face. The hitchhiker's head was angled down, hood up, face in shadow. "Hey man, I..." The hitchhiker's head turned, slowly, and Mark saw the face. It was his face. Same eyes, same mouth, same scar on the left cheek from a bike accident when he was 12. Mark staggered back. The hitchhiker, the other Mark, stared at him. Didn't blink, didn't speak. Mark turned, ran back to his car, threw himself into the driver's seat, slammed the door, locked it. He looked out the window. The hitchhiker was gone. Just empty road, empty shoulder, no jacket, no duffel bag, nothing. Mark's breath fogged the windshield. His heart pounded so hard it hurt. He looked at the mile marker ahead. Mile 42. Act 2. The Wrongness. Mark sat in the car, engine idling, hands gripping the wheel. Mile 42. He'd just driven 25 miles. Watched the markers climb from 42 to 67, and now he was back. Mark's jaw clenched. He pressed the gas. The car rolled forward, slow at first, then faster. Mile 42 passed on his right. Mark kept his eyes on the road ahead. Watched for mile 43. It appeared. Green sign, white numbers. Good. He was moving forward. Mile 44, mile 45. The dead deer was on the shoulder again. Mark's hands tightened on the wheel. Same deer, same spot. Medium-sized buck lying on its side. He'd passed it 15 minutes ago, before mile 42. Now it was here again. Mark checked his odometer. 287 miles. Same number. His fuel gauge ticked down slightly. Just below half tank now. The clock still said 2:47 a.m. Mark kept driving, faster now. 50, 60, mile 51. The billboard, rest stop, next exit 5 miles. Mark didn't slow down, just kept driving. Mile 56, mile 61. His phone buzzed. Mark grabbed it. 1 bar of signal, a text message loading. From his brother, "Where are you? You should be here by now." Mark stared at the timestamp. 6:47 a.m. 4 hours ahead of his car's clock. He typed back, "Still driving. Something's wrong." The message failed. No service. The signal bar vanished. Mark threw the phone into the passenger seat. Mile 67. The road curved. Mark knew what was coming. The curve straightened. The hitchhiker stood in the road, not on the shoulder, in the center of the lane. Mark's foot slammed the brake. The car skidded. Rubber screamed. The hitchhiker didn't move, just stood there, facing Mark. Mark yanked the wheel right. The car swerved, missed the figure by inches. Tires hit gravel. The car fishtailed. Mark fought for control. The car stopped, perpendicular to the road, headlights pointing an empty field. Mark's breath came in gasps. He looked in the rearview mirror. The hitchhiker stood on the road behind him, staring. Mark put the car in drive, pulled back onto the asphalt. He didn't look at the hitchhiker, just drove. 80, 90. The speedometer needle climbed. Mile markers blurred past, and then Mark saw headlights. Behind him, in the rearview mirror, another car, following. Mark's chest tightened. Finally, someone else, another driver. He wasn't alone. The headlights got closer, bright, too bright. Mark squinted, adjusted the mirror. The car behind him was gaining, fast. Mark pressed the gas harder. 95, 100. The Camry shook, the engine whined. The headlights stayed right behind him, no matter how fast Mark went. And then the car pulled alongside him, in the left lane. Mark glanced over. It was a Camry, silver, 2003, same car as his. The driver turned to look at him. It was Mark, same face, same terrified expression. The other Mark mouthed something. Mark couldn't hear it through the windows, but he could read the lips. "You can't leave." Mark's foot slammed the brake. His car skidded, slowed. The other Camry kept going, disappeared into the darkness ahead. Mark sat there, breathing hard, hands shaking on the wheel. He looked at the mile marker on his right. Mile 42. The dead deer was on the shoulder, closer to the road now, maybe 10 feet from the white line. Mark tried the radio. He twisted the dial. Static, more static, then a voice. His voice. Something's wrong. Can't find the exit. It keeps looping. Mark spun the dial. Another station. His voice again. Been driving for hours, days. I don't know anymore. The clock says. Mark turned the radio off. His hands were numb. He looked at his passenger seat. There was something there. A jacket. His jacket. The one he'd left at the house. The house that wasn't his anymore. Navy blue. Coffee stain on the left sleeve from 2 years ago. Mark reached out, touched it. The fabric was cold, damp. He pulled his hand back. When he looked again, the jacket was gone. But there was something else now. A duffel bag. Same bag the hitchhiker had been carrying. Mark didn't touch it. He put the car in park, opened his door. Cold air rushed in. Mark stepped onto the road. His legs shook. He walked away from the car, into the field, away from Highway 89. Dead grass crunched under his shoes. He kept walking. 10 steps, 20, 50. The highway disappeared behind him, just darkness and field. Mark stopped, turned around. Highway 89 was in front of him, not behind him, in front. Mile marker 42 glowing in the headlights of his Camry. Mark spun around. The highway was there too. Mile 42 visible in both directions. He was standing on the road. He'd walked into the field, away from the highway, but somehow he'd walked back onto it. Mark ran, perpendicular to the road, straight across the field. His feet pounded against dirt and dead grass. He didn't look back, just ran. 30 seconds, a minute. He should be far from the highway by now. Mark stopped, turned. Mile marker 42, 20 feet away. His Camry, engine idling, headlights on. Mark fell to his knees. The asphalt was cold under his hands. He was on the road. He'd never left the road. No matter which direction he walked, he ended up back at mile 42. Mark stood, walked back to his car, got in, closed the door. The duffel bag was still on the passenger seat. Mark stared at it. Then he reached over, unzipped it. Inside, a jacket. His jacket, navy blue. Coffee stain on the sleeve. A phone. His phone. Screen cracked. Dead battery. And a wallet. His wallet. Mark opened it. His driver's license stared back at him. But the photo was wrong. Older, grayer, thinner. The expiration date, November 2032. 8 years from now. Mark's hands shook. He looked at his rear-view mirror. The dead deer was in the road now, lying in the center of the lane. Except it wasn't a deer anymore. It was a person. Wearing a navy blue jacket. Mark's jacket. The figure didn't move. Mark put the car in drive. He drove forward, toward the body. His headlights lit it up. The face was visible now. It was him, lying on the asphalt, eyes open, staring at nothing. Mark drove past it, kept driving. Mile 43, mile 44, mile 45, and the road curved and straightened, and there was mile 42. Act 3. The Breakdown. Mark drove past his own body 3 more times. Each time it was in a different position, on its back, on its side, face down on the white line. Each time the navy jacket looked more worn, more faded, like it had been lying there for years. Mark stopped looking, just kept his eyes on the road ahead. Mile 43, mile 44, mile 45. The dead deer was gone now, just empty shoulder. But there were other things. A shoe, single sneaker, Nike, size 10, Mark's size. A set of keys on the asphalt, Mark's keys. With the Springdale house keychain his wife, ex-wife, had given him for their anniversary. A watch on the shoulder, face cracked, Hands frozen at 2:47. Mark kept driving. Mile 51. The billboard. Rest stop. Next exit 5 miles. Except the letters were different now. Rest stop. You passed it. Mark's stomach dropped. He looked again. The billboard was back to normal. Rest stop. Next exit 5 miles. Mark blinked. His eyes burned. He'd been driving for how long? The clock said 2:47 a.m. It had said 2:47 a.m. for hours or minutes. He couldn't tell anymore. His odometer still read 287 miles. His fuel gauge just below half tank. Nothing was moving except the mile markers. And him. Mile 56. Headlights appeared ahead, coming toward him. Another car, driving in the opposite lane. Mark slowed, watched it approach. Silver Camry, 2003, Mark's car. The car passed him. The driver's face visible for half a second in Mark's headlights. His face, screaming. And then the car was gone. Disappeared into the darkness behind him. Mark checked his rearview mirror. Nothing there, just empty road. He kept driving. Mile 61. Something moved in his peripheral vision. Mark turned his head. Someone was sitting in the passenger seat. Mark's breath caught. The hitchhiker, navy jacket, duffel bag on his lap, hood up, face in shadow. Mark's hands locked on the wheel. He didn't take his eyes off the road. "Who are you?" Mark's voice cracked. The hitchhiker didn't answer. Mark glanced over, just for a second. The hood was still up. But Mark could see the face now. It wasn't his face. Not exactly. It was older, gaunt, hollow eyes, skin grey like ash, like someone who'd been dead for a long time. "What do you want?" Mark whispered. The hitchhiker's head turned, slowly, toward Mark, and then it spoke. Mark's voice came out of its mouth. "You can't leave." Mark jerked the wheel. The car swerved. He looked at the passenger seat. Empty. No hitchhiker, no duffel bag, just the jacket, navy blue, folded neatly. Mark's breath came in short gasps. The road curved. Mile 67 appeared, and then Mark saw them. Cars, dozens of them, parked on both shoulders, stretching into the distance. All silver Camrys, all 2003 models, all empty, doors open, headlights on, engines running. Mark slowed. His car rolled past them, one after another. He looked inside each one as he passed. The first car, nothing, just empty seats. The second car, a jacket on the passenger seat, navy blue. The third car, a duffel bag, a wallet, a phone. The fourth car, someone sitting in the driver's seat. Mark, staring straight ahead, hands on the wheel, not moving, not breathing. Mark's foot hit the brake. His car stopped. He stared at the figure in the other Camry. The other Mark's head turned, looked directly at him, mouthed the words, "Keep driving." Mark pressed the gas. His car lurched forward. He didn't look at the other cars, just kept his eyes straight ahead. The parked Camrys stretched on, 20, 30, 50, all of them his car, all of them empty or occupied or somewhere in between. And then Mark saw it. In the distance, past all the parked cars, lights, gas station, glowing sign, Millbrook Travel Plaza. Mark's heart raced. The exit, the rest stop. Finally, he pressed the gas harder. 60, 70. The gas station lights got closer. Mark could see the pumps now, the convenience store, the parking lot. He was almost there. Mile marker appeared in his headlights. Mile 68. No. Wait. Mark looked again. Mile 42. The gas station lights were still ahead, still in the distance, but he was back at mile 42. Mark screamed, slammed his fists against the steering wheel. He pressed the gas, floored it. 80, 90, 100. The gas station lights stayed the same distance away, never getting closer, never getting farther, always just out of reach. Mark's fuel gauge dropped. Half tank, quarter tank. The engine sputtered. Mark looked at the gauge, empty now. The car slowed, coasted, stopped. Right next to mile 42. Mark sat there, hands on the wheel, staring at the gas station lights in the distance. He tried to start the car. The engine turned over, clicked, died. Mark tried again. Click, click, nothing. He was out of gas. Mark opened the door, stepped out onto the road. The cold hit him immediately, colder than before, the kind of cold that stops your breath. He looked down the highway, both directions, mile 42 in front of him, mile 42 behind him. The parked Camrys were gone now, just empty road. Mark started walking toward the gas station lights. 1 step, 2 steps, 10. His shoes scraped against asphalt. The sound echoed. 20 steps, 50. The gas station lights didn't get any closer. Mark kept walking. 100 steps, 200. He looked over his shoulder. His Camry was right behind him, 10 feet away. He'd been walking for 5 minutes, had to have covered at least a quarter mile. But his car was right there, like he'd never moved. Mark turned around, walked the other direction, away from the gas station lights, away from his car. He walked for 10 minutes, didn't look back. When he finally stopped and turned around, his Camry was right there, 10 feet away, engine off, headlights dark now, mile 42 visible just beyond it. Mark walked to his car, opened the driver's door, sat down. The keys were in the ignition. He didn't remember leaving them there. He turned the key. The engine started immediately. Fuel gauge, half tank. Clock, 2:47 a.m. Odometer, 287 miles. Mark's hands trembled. He looked at the passenger seat. The duffel bag was there again. Mark reached for it, unzipped it. Inside, more belongings. Things he hadn't seen in years. A photo of his wedding day. Him and Sarah, smiling. A hospital bracelet from when his father died. A letter, handwritten, his brother's handwriting. Mark unfolded it. Read the first line. Mark, we're worried about you. You've been gone for 3 weeks. Please call. Please come home. 3 weeks. Mark had been driving for, 2 hours? 3. The letter was dated November 2024. This month, this year. Mark flipped to the second page. Another letter, same handwriting. Mark, it's been 6 months. The police found your car on the Highway 89, mile marker 42, but you weren't in it. Where are you? 6 months. Mark's vision blurred. His hands shook so hard the letters fell from his grip. He looked in the rearview mirror. Someone was standing in the road behind his car. The hitchhiker, navy jacket, duffel bag, hood up. Mark watched in the mirror as the figure walked forward, slowly, toward his car. Mark's door was still open. He tried to close it. His hand wouldn't move. The hitchhiker reached the car, stopped at the driver's side, leaned down, looked at Mark. The face under the hood was his face, but wrong, decayed, sunken, eyes hollow and black. The hitchhiker smiled. You never left, it said in Mark's voice. You've been here the whole time. Mark tried to scream. Nothing came out. The hitchhiker reached out, put its hand on Mark's shoulder. The touch was ice cold. We all stop at mile 42 eventually, the hitchhiker said. This is where the road ends. This is where you stay. Mark's chest tightened. He couldn't breathe, couldn't move. The hitchhiker stepped back, walked around to the passenger side, opened the door, got in, sat down, put the duffel bag on his lap, pulled the hood back. Mark's face stared back at him, grey, dead, smiling. Drive, it said. Mark's hands moved on their own, put the car in drive. His foot pressed the gas. The car rolled forward. Mile 43, mile 44, mile 45. The hitchhiker sat in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead, and Mark drove, because what else was there to do? Act 4. The truth. Mark drove. The hitchhiker sat in the passenger seat, silent, staring straight ahead. Mark's hands were locked on the wheel. He couldn't let go, Couldn't stop. Mile 43, mile 44, mile 45. The radio turned on by itself. Static, then voices, dozens of them, all his voice. Been driving for hours. Can't find the exit. It keeps looping. I'm at mile 42 again. Please, someone help me. There's something in the passenger seat. I can't stop driving. All his loops, all his attempts, playing at once, overlapping, screaming over each other. Mark reached for the radio, tried to turn it off. His hand wouldn't move. The voices got louder. Been here for days, weeks, months, years. I don't remember my name anymore. Mark's vision blurred. Tears streaked down his face. Stop, he whispered. Please stop. The radio went silent. The hitchhiker turned its head, looked at him. You can stop, it said in Mark's voice. You just have to crash. Mark stared at the road ahead. Crash. End it. Stop the loop. His foot pressed harder on the gas. 60, 70, 80. The road stretched straight, empty. Mark aimed for the shoulder, the ditch beyond it. 90 miles per hour. He yanked the wheel right. The car swerved, tires screamed, and then the wheel jerked back left on its own. The car straightened, stayed on the road. Mark tried again, yanked the wheel hard right. The wheel fought him, pulled itself straight. The car wouldn't leave the road. Mark slammed the brakes. The pedal went to the floor. The car didn't slow down. Mark's breathing came in gasps. Panic clawed at his chest. Let me out, he screamed. Let me out. The hitchhiker smiled. You are out, it said. You've been out the whole time. The road curved. Mile marker 42 appeared. Mark's car rolled to a stop, right next to the sign. Engine still running, headlights on. Mark looked at the hitchhiker. What do you want from me? The hitchhiker reached into the duffel bag, pulled something out, a newspaper, folded, yellowed with age. It handed it to Mark. Mark's hand shook as he unfolded it. The headline, Local Man Missing After Highway Accident. Below it, a photo, Mark's face. The article was dated November 14th, 2024, 8 years ago. Mark read the first paragraph. Mark Sullivan, 34, was reported missing after his vehicle was found abandoned on Highway 89 near mile marker 42. Authorities believe Sullivan may have been involved in a single vehicle accident. Search efforts are ongoing. Mark's vision swam. 8 years. He'd been missing for 8 years, but he'd only been driving for... How long had he been driving? Mark couldn't remember when he'd started. Couldn't remember leaving Springdale. Couldn't remember anything before mile 42. You crashed here, the hitchhiker said. November 14th, 2024, 2:47 a.m. You swerved to avoid a deer, lost control, went into the ditch. Mark looked out the window, at the shoulder, the ditch beyond it. He could see it now. Tire tracks, old, faded, leading off the road. I died, Mark whispered. The hitchhiker nodded. Then why am I still here? Mark's voice cracked. Because you were running, the hitchhiker said. Running from Springdale, from your marriage, from everything you'd built. You wanted to disappear. Mark's chest tightened. So you did, the hitchhiker continued. You disappeared into the road, into the drive, into the one thing you thought would save you. Mark stared at his hands on the wheel. And now you can't stop, the hitchhiker said. Because stopping means facing what you left behind, means accepting that you ran, that you gave up. I didn't give up, Mark said. I was trying to start over. By driving through the night? The hitchhiker's voice was cold. Alone. No plan. No destination. Mark didn't answer. You weren't driving to Millbrook, the hitchhiker said. You were driving away from Springdale. There's a difference. The hitchhiker leaned closer. "This is mile 42, it said. "This is where people go when they're running from something, when they'd rather drive forever than face what's behind them." Mark's throat tightened. "How many others?" he whispered. The hitchhiker gestured at the road, at the darkness beyond the headlights. "All the cars you saw, all the versions of yourself, everyone ends up here eventually. Some stay for days, some for years, some forever." "How do I leave?" The hitchhiker smiled, that same hollow smile. "You don't." Mark's hands fell from the wheel. The hitchhiker opened his door, stepped out onto the road, walked around to the driver's side, opened Mark's door. "Your turn," it said. Mark looked at it, confused. "Your turn to wait," the hitchhiker said. "Someone else is coming. They always do." Mark stepped out of the car. His legs barely held him. The hitchhiker got into the driver's seat, closed the door. The car rolled forward, disappeared into the darkness. Mark stood on the shoulder, next to mile 42. The duffel bag was at his feet. He didn't remember picking it up. He looked down at himself. Navy jacket. His jacket. Mark raised his thumb and waited. Act 5. The endless drive. Mark stood on the shoulder, thumb out, duffel bag at his feet. He didn't know how long he'd been standing there. The headlights never came. After a while, hours or days, Mark picked up the duffel bag, started walking, not along the highway, across it, into the field on the other side. His shoes crunched through dead grass. The cold air bit at his face. He kept walking, 50 steps, 100, 200. The field stretched endlessly, and then he saw lights. In the distance, glowing yellow, street lights, a town. Mark ran toward the lights. The field ended, pavement under his feet, a street, sidewalk, houses, Millbrook. He'd made it. Mark walked down the street, his brother's street, Maple Court. There, number 428. The porchlight was on. Mark climbed the porch steps, raised his hand to knock. The door opened. His brother stood there. "Tom." "Finally," Tom said. "I've been waiting." Mark's throat tightened. "Tom, Come in," Tom said. Stepped aside. Mark stepped through the doorway. The house was dark, cold. Mark stopped. Couldn't see anything. "Tom." No answer. Mark turned around. The door was gone. No doorway, no house, just Highway 89. His car sat 20 feet away, engine running, headlights on, mile marker 42 behind it. Mark was standing on the road. He'd never left. Mark walked to his car, opened the driver's door, got in. The keys were in the ignition. He turned the key. The engine started. Fuel gauge, half tank, clock, 2:47 a.m. Odometer, 287 miles. Mark put the car in drive, started driving. Mile 43, mile 44, mile 45. The dead deer was on the shoulder again. Mark kept driving. Mile 51. The billboard. Rest stop. Next exit. 5 miles. How many times had he seen that billboard? He couldn't remember anymore. Couldn't remember when he'd started. Couldn't remember his life before mile 42. All he remembered was driving. Mile 56. The radio turned on. His voice, overlapping. "Been driving for hours. Can't find the exit. I reached Millbrook, but it wasn't real. Nothing is real. Except mile 42. Mark turned the radio off. Mile 61. The duffel bag sat in the passenger seat, unzipped. Inside, his belongings, his jacket, his wallet, and a photo. Mark driving, hands on the wheel, eyes straight ahead, taken from the passenger seat. But Mark had been driving alone, hadn't he? Mile 67. The road curved. Mark knew what was coming. The curve straightened. The hitchhiker stood on the shoulder, navy jacket, duffel bag, thumb out. Mark stopped next to the figure. The hitchhiker opened the passenger door, got in, set his duffel bag on its lap. Mark looked at it. It was his face, hollow, grey, dead. The hitchhiker smiled. "You'll never leave," it said. "I know," Mark said. "You've been here forever." "I know." Mark put the car in drive, started driving. The hitchhiker sat in silence. Mile 72, mile 78, mile 83, and then the road curved and straightened. Mile marker 42. Mark's car rolled to a stop. The hitchhiker got out, walked around to the driver's side. Mark's door opened. "Your turn," the hitchhiker said. Mark got out of the car. The hitchhiker got in, closed the door. The car rolled forward, disappeared into the darkness. Mark stood on the shoulder, next to mile 42. The duffel bag was at his feet. In the distance, headlights appeared. A car, coming down Highway 89. Mark raised his thumb and waited, because that's what you did at mile 42. You waited, you drove, you looped, forever. The road never ended. It just brought you back, always back, to mile 42.